Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is about my Crohn's disease surgery. I had this surgery in July 2014, so I'm just going to share my experience, what I went through, and what I wish I knew before I had my surgery. So if you guys are interested, please continue watching and be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you're curious about my full Crohn's story from diagnosis to now, I do have a My Story video. It's a few years old, but it's still relevant, it's still true. But this video is just dedicated to my surgery. I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease July of 2018 and then had surgery July of 2019. And it was kind of because I did not have proper care. I'm not sure if surgery was unavoidable for me. But what happened was I was diagnosed and then immediately went to college. I had a doctor in Arizona who frankly did not care. When I finished my first year at University of Arizona, I came back to the Bay Area and saw my original Crohn's doctor, and he did an evaluation. He's like, yeah, Humira is clearly not working for you. You need surgery now. And I think part of that was because I did not have proper medical care for basically a year. I was diagnosed in the Bay Area with an amazing team of doctors and then immediately went to University of Arizona. And the doctor I had there, he just didn't care. He was just a jerk, and I don't know how to explain it, but I did not get any MRI, CT scans, x-rays for a whole year. I saw him pretty regularly, but he was very dismissive to anything I had to say and just piled on medications, but we didn't do multiple blood tests or anything like that. I kind of just saw him, had one blood test, and then he piled on methotrexate, and that was it. So when I came back from my first year of U of A, I was on prednisone, methotrexate, Humira. So based off of my MRI, as soon as I got back to the Bay Area, they could tell that I had pools of bacteria within my body. My intestines, particularly around my ileum, were so inflamed that they looked like they were infusing together, and I was at high risk for sepsis. So I was on a lot of antibiotics. What was really nice is that I had an amazing team at California Pacific Medical Center. That's where I was diagnosed, that's where I had my surgery and the majority of my procedures with Crohn's disease at that hospital, and I highly recommend them. I think they're an amazing team. And my general surgeon went through the process of what to expect when I was having surgery. So obviously I'm not awake, I don't know what's happening, and I'm not a doctor. So it was really, really comforting that I had my surgeon walk me through the steps multiple times so I knew what was happening. Granted, there was a lot up in the air, it looked like my intestines were fusing together, but they can't prove that until they actually see it. So I had my surgery and they removed 10 inches of my bowels. I think your bowels are about 7 meters long, and so 10 inches isn't that big of a deal. However, it's the parts that they take is what's important. So they did completely remove my ileum, and I will address how I dealt with that. But other than that, it was fairly simple. Everything else looked good. It was just those areas that were fusing together. They were able to clean up all of the bacteria so that I was no longer at risk for sepsis. And overall, the surgery went very smooth. I was in the hospital recovering for 7 days, which sucks because I'm not somebody that likes laying in bed 24/7, but I had two amazing nurses that really, really kept me motivated. They took me on laps around the hospital so I could start walking. I had to hit a criteria of making sure I was walking multiple times a day, making sure that my breathing was okay, that I didn't have a fever. Multiple things went into the factor of me being released from the hospital. But then when I was released from the hospital, my incision got infected, and I knew it was infected about 2 days after being home. So I had to see my doctor again. I don't think I don't remember being stitched up again. I remember receiving a lot of bandages and gauze, and I was on a really strong antibiotic for about 14 days. The surgery was definitely one of the best things that has happened to me because immediately after that, I was in remission. They did a colonoscopy after I had healed, testing my blood work, taking biopsies of my intestines, and on every single level, I showed signs of remission, which was amazing, so exciting. And immediately after my doctors told me that I was in remission, about 3 months after my surgery, we started Remicade because we wanted to prevent any flares happening again. A few things I wish I knew before I had my surgery was that it was an abdominal surgery, that I was going to wake up with the inability to use my abdomen. When my surgeon was discussing like what he was going to do to my intestines, I was like, yes, I understand completely. But I did not understand that they would be slicing my core muscles and I would be very immobilized afterwards. And so if I had somebody specifically say to me, we are cutting through your core muscles, and use that terminology for me to make that connection, I would have begged my doctor to have physical therapy after my surgery. I have seen physical therapists for basically my whole life because of my arthritis and various sports injuries, and just a year ago I saw a physical therapist for my hips and spine. And I was doing exercise and my shirt kind of lifted up and he saw my scar. And so he asked if that was a surgical scar. And I explained to him the type of surgery I had. And he said, that changes my entire plan of how we need to heal you. And he explained how surgeries where they cut through core muscles is one of the most traumatic injuries to the body because your core supports everything. It supports how you stand, how you walk. And I just wish I knew that before I had my surgery so that I could have physical therapy ready for me. Another thing that went into that is if I knew that beforehand, I wish my parents were a bit tougher in my recovery. So when I was in the hospital, I had nurses force me to go on walks with them and make sure I was walking and able to walk and building endurance. And then when I got home, I was like, I need to lay in bed. And my parents did start to push me a little bit. And it was also difficult because I have a two-story house. So my bedroom's up here. If I want food or want to go outside, obviously I have to go downstairs. And so though I got exercise from walking up and down the stairs, I wish my parents really took me outside and pushed me until I could walk a mile after surgery. Obviously, you need to judge how ready you are, but having a recovery plan in place would have helped me recover and probably would have prevented other arthritis issues in my spine. The third thing about what I wish I knew from my surgery is on a psychological level, you are experiencing trauma, and I did not understand this for a while. Even when I heard it from psychologists and my therapist, I didn't fully understand it because it didn't feel traumatic. No matter what surgery you have, it is traumatizing. You go to sleep knowing everything's okay and that this is going to happen, and you try to prepare yourself, but then you wake up and you physically cannot sit up because you have had your intestines cut up and your muscles cut up and moved around. Surgery is very traumatizing, and you have to understand that your body is going through this war. Even if you're asleep and you don't feel it, when you wake up, you have to deal with that. Your body has to recover. And it isn't just recovering on a physical level, but on a mental and emotional level, where I am somebody that is used to actually working out for 4 hours a day. I used to do Taekwondo for multiple hours, and then I would do volleyball. And so not being able to even go around the block was very difficult, and I felt defeated and I felt ashamed of my body. Obviously, I'm over it. I've recovered. Everything's fine. But within a few months of recovery, those are things that I really struggled with, was my core strength, and then also my mental health of like, I'm used to being an athlete, and then I just felt like I couldn't use my body. And so I had a mental obstacle in my recovery, which just delayed my recovery. I hope I'm making sense. So as I mentioned, I had my ileum removed, and that has affected me lifelong. Your ileum does multiple things. First being, it absorbs liver bile acid. So your body produces, or your liver produces bile acid to help break down certain fats like dairy, and your body reabsorbs that and processes it, and you can continue doing that. Now that I can't absorb liver bile acid, I have had to change my way of eating so I don't produce as much acid, which means I don't consume a lot of dairy. I do have some cheese like pretty regularly. I have half and half in my coffee every morning, and that is just what me and my doctor found what works for me. Is I can have a little bit of cheese, but I just can't have ice cream and things like that. Your ileum is also responsible for absorbing so many vitamins. So since my surgery, I have to be on B12 shots for the rest of my life. I have to take D3 supplements because I just can't absorb it that well. And so that is just a lifelong battle that I'll always have, and it's very, very manageable, and it isn't that big of a deal, but it is a result from my surgery. So I just wanted to mention that. Overall, my surgery was one of the best things that has happened to me, and had placed me in remission. And so if I have to do another surgery in the future, I will 100% do it, but I am still in remission, and I am still doing the best that I can to feed my body what it wants and to make sure I never get to that point. I think when I don't know, you always hear about people hitting rock bottom. Being unable to physically move my body is a rock bottom for me. I need to be able to be running around, to enjoy my strength. I love being strong. I love being capable. And when I could not do anything, that's when I had a big red flag that I'm never getting to this point again. And obviously, you can only control so much when you have an autoimmune disease, but it was really my motivator and my savior to get me back on track and for me to stay on track. So I hope this video was helpful. This is just my story of what I went through, and I hope that this kind of gave some insight that it is totally normal to have surgery, and don't be too scared about it. I really recommend asking for physical therapy no matter what surgery you have, because it will just help you recover. I hope this video was helpful for you, whether you're going to have a procedure soon or it's like on the table for discussion. Surgery was one of the best things that happened to me, and it isn't something to just take on so easy, but it is going to benefit you. So I hope that my story empowered you for your next procedure. Remember, you are never alone, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.